Welcome back. Better Than a Let's Play, episode 19. I'm an ABS, and today we've found our winter wonderland. Took me 3 hours to find this snowy biome. I don't even remember what the biome is called, but it's snow. It's snowing, and it's snow on the ground and ice trees. We're getting ready to start our next major build, and in this case that involves a giant sheet of ice upon which to build. So because it's taking so long to put in this sheet of ice, I decided I would just make an episode talking to kind of giving you a general idea of what the plan is here, and then the very next episode that we have will be starting on our first structure. Now, we just finished our super jumbo jack-o'-lantern build, and I had so much fun with it, and I was so happy with the way it turned out. All I could think of with regards to future Minecraft plans was another build like that. It's not about the tech. There are certain things that I was able to do with that build that I wouldn't be able to do if it weren't for some of the mods in the pack, and the same goes for this build. So it's still a modded Minecraft kind of thing, but sometimes I think the tech is overdone. I think we're so engrossed by the tech because it's such a focus of the mods that we overlook some of the more entertaining and relaxing things that we could be doing. That's certainly where I am. Now, that's not to say that throughout this build we won't also be talking about various different kinds of technology, nor is it to say that there won't be any technology in this build, but I can say that I don't have any immediate plans to load this thing up with any kind of facility-related activities. No power generation, no item sorting, nothing like that. It's mostly just about the build and having fun with the build, and if we get an idea later on to add some tech to it, then that's great. Now, one of the things about ice that was very important to learn and overcome is that you can't just break it with whatever you want. If you break it with the wrong kind of tool, it just turns into a water source block. So unlike other blocks, like glass for example, I dislike glass a little bit because unless you have a silk touch tool, when you break it, it breaks. It's gone forever. You wasted that energy or whatever it was that allowed you to get the glass from sand, and then you have to replace it because it's gone. But it's still, at least it's out of the way. If you placed it by mistake, at least it's easy enough to clear it out of the way and then continue on and fix the mistake. With the ice, you can't just, if you make a mistake placing a block, you can't just move it out of the way. You can't just break it and carry on. You have to actually kill the water source block as well. So I'm using Silk Touch picks from Dartcraft because it's a reliable way to get Silk Touch on a tool without going crazy. And that not only allows me to correct things as I'm building, but also it allows me to break down the ice trees that you see all over the place as a secondary source of ice. Now, I'm using a glacial precipitator in my central facility, which is a thermal expansion machine that takes water and turns it into snowballs, snow, and or ice. And in this case, obviously, I'm using it to make ice. So it takes water from my endless, my bottomless supply, the tank that I've got attached to the arm just outside the central tower, and uses up a little bit of energy and makes ice blocks. And that's what it's doing. It's chunk loaded, it's making ice blocks all the time. And I go back to the central facility from time to time and check up on it, make sure the energy cell still has power in it to keep it running. So we're good for ice. Throughout this build, we will also be using glass. Now, you may see from time to time as I'm working on this, especially traversing from one area on the ice to another, is I'm hopping a lot, because walking on ice, if you've never experienced it, is very, very slow. It slows you down a lot, and really the only way to overcome it is to keep jumping. Everywhere you're going, you're jumping. So rather than have to deal with that all the time, once I get the platform in place upon which everything will be built with the ice, I'm going to put a sheet of glass over the whole thing so that it'll still look like ice. You'll get a little bit of a black outline around the outer edges of it where the glass frames end, and then I'll put an edge of ice around that. So it still looks like an ice structure, but you've got the benefit of the mobility afforded by the glass, because otherwise it would just be way too much of a pain in the butt. So we've got ice going into this, we've got a lot of glass going into this, and then there are ice bricks and things that you can make with ice that are opaque, but they have the ice bluish gray color so that they match nicely with the ice, even if they aren't semi-transparent or translucent, whatever you want to call it. So we'll be using that for some of the detailing as well. And I've already checked, I know for sure, that you can cut ice at least into slabs. So I'm pretty confident that the microblock availability will be there without having to edit any configs or anything like that. So that's pretty cool. So all that's left is we've got this massive platform going in. I don't want it to be just a sheet of ice hanging out in the middle of nowhere, looking like it just kind of was built there. However, you might get that idea. So once I get enough in place to kind of have a continuous area to work with, I'm actually going to be going underneath, and you'll see this momentarily, and making it look like it's actually a giant chunk of ice sitting on top of this landmass, as opposed to just a giant sheet of ice. And that way I'm hoping I can overcome that sort of, geez, it's just a giant sheet of ice in the middle of nowhere kind of look. The other alternative would have been to just keep the landscape as it is without this, and just put buildings in various different places where it made sense, and then bridges in between the two. But I don't want to overdo the whole bridges thing, and I just really wanted a big imposing sort of fortress complex going in here. So this is what I was talking about, filling it in so that it looks like it's just a giant chunk of ice sticking up out of the landscape. The biggest problem that this leaves, if we were to call it a problem, is all of the monsters that spawn beneath this guy, because they can see you, they want to home in on you, and you just end up walking around with this giant pack of monsters underneath you. They can't hurt you, but some of them make noises that are really obnoxious. So I haven't really decided exactly what it is I want to do about that yet. The thought occurred to me of just filling this whole thing with water, and then I realized, first of all, that would be an absolutely massive undertaking, and if it wasn't done properly, it would also be a massive source of lag. It would have to be basically a sheet of water source blocks directly underneath the ice in order to eliminate the possibility of having flowing water blocks all over the place creating lag. It just seems like a bit much. As much as I would like to get rid of all the bad guys, I don't really think that's the solution. I might be able to do something with glass later on. I might just be able to carpet the whole area underneath the flat ice sheet with ice, because mobs don't seem to want to spawn on the ice. There's different things that I might be able to do. It's not a top priority, but it was just something that I noticed, and you can see as I'm building here, there's just monsters all over the damn place. So that's one thing that we'll be keeping in mind, but mostly it'll be about the build. And now that I've shown you this whole process, because this is frankly non-trivial, getting this floor up and running and in place. We haven't even started putting in the glass yet. I'm liking the way it looks, especially from this view here. I think it looks kind of neat. But this is kind of a big deal. This is a very time-consuming part of the project. But in the next episode, now that we've got it, we'll have enough by the end of this to work with, that we can start on the first structure, which will probably be the largest out of any of the structures that'll be going into this. I think we'll do one sort of mega structure, and then we'll have sort of smaller structures that look like they're there for support or specific tasks or whatever. I haven't really decided yet, but all I know is that this is probably the first time I've taken on such an enormous project out of ice alone. And then of course the holidays, come the holidays, something will happen. Something holiday themed will happen to the ice fortress. It's just a lot of fun. I find, despite all of the really, really noisy spiders underneath me and all of the noisy slimes fapping away everywhere I go, that this is a hell of a lot more relaxing than trying to build such and such system for the umpteenth time out of the last 4 different FTB packs. Working with materials I haven't worked with before in an environment that I've never really used before, for reasons that I've never done before, is practically like playing a new game almost. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like I say, I've got some ideas for the first structure that we're building, but if you have ideas that you want to contribute, there's no harm in doing so. You can leave your comments and feedback in the comments and feedback section below the video. If you want to be notified when I add the next video, you can subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter @Enigmius1. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.